It's a national issue. And again, it seems to be more focused in industries that were low pay to begin with.
Businesses all across the Spokane area are looking to hire more employees, but no one's applying. Tonight, we look into why these jobs are not being filled in our KREM 2 investigation.
Updated guidelines for spectator events in Washington. Vaccinated sections could have full capacity.
Counties across Washington now face new evaluations for COVID restrictions. The data was pulled today, but by this time tomorrow, we'll know if we're headed back to phase 2.
Cloud cover right now, but we're tracking more sunshine on Tuesday. That and the rest of your work week forecast is coming up.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 6. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
Welcome everyone. I'm Whitney Ward. Our big story at this 6 o'clock hour, Governor Jay Inslee announced new guidelines just a few hours ago for spectator events and religious and faith-based organizations. This as many counties are bracing for a possible move backwards to phase 2.
So here's what we know so far. Under the new guidelines, a vaccinated section can be seated at full capacity at churches and spectator events like high school sports and graduation ceremonies. KREM 2's Ian Smay has details on the updated guidelines.
We are at Union Stadium, where Gonzaga University plans on holding an in-person graduation this weekend. Now, the main change after Inslee's announcement is new capacity rules regarding separate sections for vaccinated and unvaccinated people. Outdoor facilities can now add vaccinated sections until their capacity hits 50%, or 22,000 people, whichever is less. When it comes to indoor facilities, it depends on what phase the facility's home county is in. Vaccinated sections can be added to indoor facilities until they reach 50% capacity, or 2,000 people, whichever is less. For those in phase 2, a vaccinated section cannot exceed 200 people, and for those in phase 3, that limit is raised to 400 people. I told Spokane's interim health officer, Dr. Francisco Velasquez, about Inslee's announcement earlier.
But I think the goal is really not necessarily to segregate those that are immunized, but to really encourage all that can to get immunized.
Velasquez also said he thinks that Inslee's decision will help encourage more people to get vaccinated so they can once again participate in large events. He also says that continuing to vaccinate as many people as possible will be key in getting Spokane's COVID-19 numbers down and beating the current spike we are seeing. He added that he thinks the cases we are seeing now are no longer from events such as the NCAA tournament, spring break, and Easter weekend. But even with the events now in the rear view, he still thinks it may be a number of weeks before Spokane gets back to satisfying the current phase 3 metrics.
If you think about it, we have trended in the wrong direction for quite some time. Although we saw a slight improvement for about a week, but we just spiked up again. So it'll probably take us a few weeks to get back to the rates that are required for phase 3.
Velasquez said that in addition to vaccinating more people, it will be important for the public to follow health guidances and to limit gatherings to beat the current spike. This also comes the day before Inslee is set to announce which counties will be moving back to phase 2. Velasquez told me earlier he hasn't seen or heard anything from the governor's office that would suggest that Inslee is planning a pause on rolling back counties that aren't meeting the current metrics. In Meade, Ian Smay, KREM 2 News.
So tomorrow morning, that is when we will get the final decision announced from Governor Jay Inslee about which counties could actually move back or forward in phases.
So we won't know for sure until that announcement is made, but we can get an idea of our odds. Our KREM 2's Casey Decker breaking that down for us tonight. And Casey, how's it looking?
Well, Mark, simply put, not that great. We know we've had bad numbers for most of the last month, and those trends don't seem to have gotten much better in the last few days. Now, by this point, most of you probably know the requirements to stay in phase 3. We just need to meet one of these two metrics. Either have fewer than 200 COVID cases per 100,000 people over a 2-week span, or have fewer than 5 COVID hospitalizations per 100,000 people over a 1-week span. And we were told by the governor's office last week that those spans will both be up to and including yesterday, Sunday. So, how are we faring? Here's what the health district data says. SRHD reports 1,505 cases in the 2-week span between April 19th and May 2nd. And given the population of our county, that's a case rate of 287.9. That's obviously way over the limit, so it looks pretty clear we likely will not be meeting that threshold. So then what about hospitalizations? Well, SRHD reports 28 hospitalizations in the 1-week span between April 26th and May 2nd. That's a county rate of 5.35. So it's a little bit closer to our target than the case rate is, but close doesn't mean much here. We need to be under 5. And from this data, it appears we won't be. Now, a couple of important facts to point out when looking at this data, some qualifiers, the biggest one being We don't know for sure if the data the state is using will be the same as the data that SRHD is reporting. In the last county evaluation, the data didn't match up. SRHD told us they weren't entirely sure why, and we're working on remedying that with the state. But for those who are hoping that maybe the data will be wildly different enough to prevent a return to phase 2, should know the last time the state data was actually worse for Spokane County than the health district data. And finally, the state could end up using different date ranges or different population figures than we did, but it seems pretty unlikely that any of that would make much of a difference. So unless Inslee moves the goalposts tomorrow, which for what it's worth is something he has done several times before, it's not looking good for Spokane County. Odds are we will be going back to phase 2 on Friday. In the newsroom, Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.
Casey, thank you very much. In the wake of the super spreader event in Republic in Ferry County now has the highest COVID-19 case rate in all of Washington.
The Northeast Tri-County Health District is now reporting 106 Ferry County residents have tested positive since April 12th. One new death was also reported. It's still unclear, though, if that is exactly tied to the super spreader event. But to put this all in perspective, there are just over 7,500 people in all of Ferry County. So right now, Ferry County has the highest case rate, adjusted for population, in the entire state, and even ranks among the highest nationally. The health district also said 7 people have been required to, or have required transport to other hospitals in outlying areas like Spokane or Wenatchee. That's because the local hospital just doesn't have enough room to treat everyone at that highest level.
Meantime, CVS and Walgreens have wasted more COVID-19 vaccine doses than most states combined. That's according to government data obtained by Kaiser Health News. The data shows at least 182,000 doses were wasted as of last March. Of those wasted doses, CVS was responsible for nearly half, Walgreens responsible for nearly 21% of the doses. While it's not exactly clear why these two pharmacy chains have been responsible for wasting so many vaccines, the CDC said the losses were to be expected with a vaccine rollout of this size.
And the University of Washington now requiring students on all 3 of its campuses to be vaccinated against the coronavirus before the start of the fall quarter. They're now joining WSU in requiring students to be vaccinated before they can ever return to campus. Students will also need to verify that they have been vaccinated before they come back. There are going to be exemptions for medical, religious, or philosophical reasons. If students are not able to get vaccinated where they live currently, then the university will also provide vaccinations to students once they arrive on campus.
Let's switch gears for a moment to talk weather. It was a great start to the work week all across the inland Northwest today. Meteorologist Tom Sherry in the Outdoor Weather Center tonight. Tom, looks pretty good out there at this hour.
It does. A little breezy out here. We've got some cloud cover. We expect a lot of the cloud cover, though, will begin to dissipate in the overnight hours, and we're tracking sunshine tomorrow. Yeah, sunshine tomorrow with highs in the mid to upper 60s. Partly cloudy on Wednesday. Showers developing Thursday night into Friday, but also Thursday and Friday will be the warmest. Wednesday and Thursday will be the warmest days of the week, with temperatures getting into the 70s. Right now, we're tracking some rain showers, mostly in the panhandle of Idaho, also in the Blue Mountains of southeastern Washington. Heaviest rain, though, as you can see, is over in the Cascades. But again, we don't expect that to last and will dissipate, as I said before, in the overnight hours. 62 degrees, wind is out of the west at 20 miles per hour, so it makes it feel a little bit cooler, that and the cloud cover. We'll look for decreasing clouds overnight with a low of 40 degrees, 67 the expected high tomorrow if we get that sunshine that I'm talking about. And then for the weekend, I've got cooler weather, but really seasonal high temperatures on Sunday with a high of 63. Slight chance of rain both Saturday and Sunday. I'll check your 10-day forecast, all coming up in a few minutes.
Sounds great, Tom. Thank you very much.